So what is this French way or this El Camino that I'm doing? It's so unique and so historic. There is nothing like this trail anywhere in the world. You know, here in America, we have beautiful thru hikes. We have the Pacific Crest Trail and the John Muir Trail, and we have the Appalachian Trail. And hikers would go and put their backpack on and their sleeping bag and their tent and their food, and they go out for several days in the wilderness and enjoy the beautiful sights. But what I'll be doing is just carrying my backpack of the things that I need, my personal belongings. It's going to be about 25 pounds. And I'm not bringing a tent and cooking utensils because I'll be able to stay at places along the way called albergues, and I'll be able to eat along the way too. So that's a big difference. But what I plan on doing is using some books that give me guides. And I wanted to pass these on to you. I'll be putting links down to what I'll be using. Now, I won't be taking all of these. This one actually has an app that I've put on my phone that gives me all the information, the elevation, the distance between cities, phone numbers to albergues, different information, you know, where hospitals are and things like that. But this man, John Brierley, is kind of the godfather to getting the Camino activated again all over the world. And so he wrote this book called Camino De Santiago, and it has all of the different details that you would need. He has it in stages, in 35 stages that you can walk, and in those stages he tells about the history, he tells elevation and distance and phone numbers, and there's maps. Let me see if I can find a map. There's maps that you follow so you can know right where you are. This one, it tells you city to city what the history is, and also elevation and distance and things like that. This is a new one called Wise Pilgrim. So if you're, you know, like I was saying, there's several different caminos heading to Santiago. It's not just the Camino Frances. And so they have one for the Portuguese one, the Inglés, and the primitive. And so it has the specific information for those trails. This one is different in that it's got maps that, you know, show the elevation and everything you follow along this way. So I'm going to be fine as far as knowing where I'm at. I also have an app on my phone, and one of the cool things about this trail is, I think in the 70s they started doing it. There was a priest, I believe, that wanted to get this activated again and have it easier for people to do. And so he was had road paint, the yellow road paint, donated to him. So he walked through the Camino and put yellow arrows on everything. So that's a real sign of the Camino when you see the yellow arrows. So supposedly, and I haven't done this, I've seen the arrows the 2 days that I went, but supposedly you see them every, you know, half hour or something along the way. And if you don't, then you know you're lost and you have to get back on track. So that's kind of my plan. There's a ton written about this trek that I'm going, and right now I'm reading a book called Santiago that's written by a husband and wife. They're professors of history, and it's fascinating. I mean, there's so much history along the way. I'll be going through, you know, over mountains and vineyards and 5 days of the Meseta, which is flatland, and it's just, you can go into these little villages and into a church, and they've got artwork and things that are from the 12th century just sitting on the walls, and it's just amazing. So I'm looking forward to all of the nature and the history, the people that I meet along the way. And one more thing that I wanted to say, when you get to Santiago, the cathedral is exquisite, and it took them years and years and years to add to this and make it what it is today, to house all of these pilgrims coming through. So it seats 1,200 people, and the primitive pilgrims that would walk through, when they finally got there, they would go up to the steps, and there was this gorgeous entryway carved by a man named Master Mateo. And there's a center pillar, and they would kneel down and they would touch this pillar with their hand. So many pilgrims, millions of pilgrims have done this over the years that the handprint is actually imprinted onto the stone. And then they would go in and they would hear a mass at 12, and they would, you know, there's another one at 7:30. And another thing that they had was this thing called a Botafumero. And it's 170 pounds, it's like 5 feet tall. 6 men lift it up, they light it with incense, and they swing it through the whole church. Historically, they say that that was like a prayer, but also that the pilgrims smelled so bad that it kind of hid the smell of them. So there's just so many cool little things that I've been reading about it. In the next video, I want to tell you about some more very unique things about this trail that are unlike anywhere else. One of the things you have to have is a pilgrim's passport, and in order to stay at the albergues. The albergues are the hostels that pilgrims stay in throughout the way, and they're put there just for these hikers coming through. They're very inexpensive, anywhere from $6 to $15, and very, very basic and simple. But in order to stay there, you have to have one of these, and it's basically to get stamps put in it. So I'll be telling you more about this and how to get one. And the other thing that's very big part of the pilgrimage is the scallop shell. And I'll be telling you why this is so special and why it's a part of the Camino, and you'll see these everywhere. And the last one that I wanted to tell you about that's cool about this trek, which has so much meaning, is about 2/3 of the way where I'm hiking from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port is a place called Cruz de Ferro, and it's actually the highest point in the Camino, and so it's over 5,000 feet high. It's got a beautiful iron cross that's also from the 12th century, and it sits on a 20-foot pile of rocks. So when you look at it, it's a beautiful kind of sight from afar going up, but the meaning of it is really cool. And I'm going to be telling you about that in the next video. So you can see that there's just so much history, and it just opens up more and more doors. So I'm so excited about it. So if you want to see that, just go ahead and watch the next video.